Cool. All right.
So this is a special episode for the Vinyl Side Chats channel because it's episode number 10, and I have Eric from Vinyl Rewind.
It's good to see you. Thanks for having me.
So I always like to start off with kind of how we got kind of like how we got started.
Oh, like with collecting vinyl?
Yeah, and just kind of like the whole like story of kind of like our musical journey.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for me, I it just was just a part of my life. As I had, my parents had some records, my two older brothers had some records. So, I mean, some of my earliest memories are my brothers making mixtapes of the vinyl onto cassette, and sometimes they'd let me drop the needle down, but it was like I knew it was delicate and like special, and like I had to be careful, and I couldn't just like pull out the records. But I really enjoyed looking at the covers and stuff, and so it always just was a part. Even if I didn't put in music myself. Like I didn't really have. I think I got my first cassette uh, when I was like 8 or 9 years old at a birthday party. It was Weird Al. And it was cool. I was like, oh, cool, my own music now. Because before then, it was just whatever my family had on the car radio or in the house. And yeah, so it just sort of stemmed from there. And then it became like making mixtapes for my friends, or even just like copies of albums. Like, oh, you don't have this album. Here's this album, doing high speed dubs of cassettes. Um, and just it was honestly, vinyl at the time was just the cheapest format. You could endlessly get really good playing copies for $5 at the used record store. I mean, not it was not really like new music. It was just like older stuff, but it was just, yeah, cheaper than, definitely way cheaper than CDs. And then like cassettes were kind of in the middle, but they didn't sound as good. They
Yeah.
didn't sound as good as CDs or records. Um, and maybe that was just because we were using cheap tape players. Who knows? Because since then I've heard really good cassettes. So I think it's definitely your playback system. But yeah, it was just sort of like a way to be social. I mean, it's just like music is such a important part of a young person's life. It's kind of how they identify with the world, and like your early influences definitely come from music, I find. And yeah, so it was growing up in that time period was a weird transition, from CDs really probably hit their peak right when I was buying CDs. Like I remember going to Blockbuster Music, and that was such a novelty because you could listen to anything without buying it. Most music stores wouldn't let you do that. So like, I mean, they, subsequently, like other places started listening stations, right, where they had select CDs that you could listen to, but you couldn't just bring any old CD up. And then other places, like if it was used, they'd open it up. But Blockbuster Music, they would open up anything and play it for you. And I remember listening to OK Computer that way. That was like the first time I listened to it. It was like literally a bar, right? And there was like the bartender was the guy opening CDs and playing them for you, and you just sat down with headphones on, and I think you could look at the CD. I don't know if they let you. I don't really remember that part. Um, and maybe they put it back in the security case
Yeah.
so you wouldn't mess with the booklet. Yeah, such a weird time, really. Music was like not really as accessible as it is today. Um, and then for me, vinyl is it was just like a window into like another time period, really. Like I would go to garage sales, and um when you go through someone's collection that hasn't been picked over, you're kind of going through their life in a way. I mean, you don't know all the pieces, but like it's really interesting to see what people bought and collected over the years. And like I really got into like the 50s period, just music and just culturally in America, like cars and stuff. And so, because that stuff was really cheap, and I think it still is pretty cheap, and you can find it still at thrift stores, really. But yeah, it's just it's such a it's such a funny thing, like how you can kind of find these little pockets that you never knew existed just by like, oh, this is a cool cover, and then you read all about like who this person was, and yeah, it's like analog internet or something. I don't know. It's just sort of it's interesting. So
I
yeah, go ahead.
was kind of I was going through the same thought process on Friday when I was listening to a vinyl record,
Yeah,
just being able to like being able to pull out the sleeve and read all the details of who was involved,
yeah,
like who they're thinking and all the stuff like that.
yeah. It you don't you it's really hard to get that digitally
Yeah,
stream. I mean, it's almost, I mean, they iTunes tried for a while with digital booklets, but like it's just not the same thing. And that's coming from someone who enjoys that. Like I rarely ever looked at my iTunes CD booklets that came with stuff. Like I might peruse it really briefly, but like it's yeah, it's just not the same.
yeah. Kind of like on how I got started in vinyl. There was kind of like I was always there was always music in the household,
Yeah.
but I primarily grew up with CDs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we would always play music on one of those like basic stereo systems in the house.
Yeah.
And that kind of slowly got me into starting to collect CDs. But like when I first started to now, I still only have like a few,
Oh yeah. Okay.
but I kind of got started collecting in vinyl probably about a little over 10 years ago. So I think it was probably right when the vinyl resurgence started to slowly
Yeah.
pick up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I distinctly remember like 2010 seeing like, oh, Vampire Weekend. I was so oblivious. I didn't realize Vampire Weekend had put their stuff out on vinyl.
Yeah,
And it came with digital download codes. I was like, oh, that's such a interesting thing. Like that makes a lot of sense. Because like most people were just ripping CDs to MP3s anyway at that time. But the problem I find with CDs is like disc rot, and you can't really prevent it, you know? I mean, you can do your best with how you store your CDs, but I don't know if they're gonna, you can still play 78s that are over 100 years old. I don't think you're gonna be able to do that with CDs.
yeah,
Maybe, probably cassettes if they're restored right, and they're not broken. I'm sure the tape loses its flexibility over the years. I'm not really sure. It could shrink. I don't know. I don't know enough about magnetic tape. I guess it depends on the material used,
yeah,
right? So, yeah, I know CDs are making a big comeback
yeah,
right now because how expensive vinyl's become.
yeah. But kind of like when no matter if it's going to like my local record store or online, I kind of do have like a limit on how much I spend.
Yeah.
But, well, especially one of the like most expensive records I have is actually The Lord of the Rings on vinyl.
Oh,
So it's actually for all three movies.
okay, the Peter Jackson
Yeah.
ones. Oh, wow.
But those were like 150 each,
Yeah.
but just mainly because those movies and that music is so special to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. I'm the same way. Like I didn't know, I missed out when those initially were released, and like now yeah, they are expensive, and um I would personally love sort of like they did I always advocate for this, but in I think it was 1980 or 81, John Williams put out a symphonic suite version of The Empire Strikes Back. So it's not like it's a different it's not the music you hear in the film. It's not the same music. It's like all those themes put together in order of the film, but they're strung together in a way that creates a more cohesive whole, right? Does that make sense? And
Yeah,
I wish like I would love to have something like that for Lord of the Rings.
yeah,
That would be amazing, just to kind of hit like the greatest hits of the themes that are kind of strung together, maybe on one disc or two. Um, because like yeah, I collect a lot of soundtracks, and like sometimes like the song's only like a minute long.
yeah,
And I wanted to keep going. I wanted to go to the next one. I want it to be its own experience.
yeah.
You know what I mean? That's really cool though. When did you pick those up?
I was able to get them right when they first were able to, like, kind of right when they first came out.
Oh,
So
good. Oh, cool.
I actually was able to pre-order them.
Excellent. All right. So you didn't have to pay what they're going for now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
great.
especially the first one, I
Yeah.
I if I was to get it now, I wouldn't, just because it's just definitely way out of my price range.
Yeah. Then they were pretty limited, weren't they? I don't remember.
Uh
Like
for
a couple out. What
I
was
think
it?
the first one was, I think, 5,000,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then the second and third were 8,000.
Okay. Each 8,000. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
How often do you listen to those?
Not that much.
Yeah.
I I do like to pull them out every once in a while.
Yeah. Cool.
So kind of like, what are some of your favorite albums to listen to?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I was just what was I listening to? I was listening, where is it? Yeah, I was just listening to these guys. Um, that's a really cool one. And then like anything by Nick Drake, really. Um, just sounds great on vinyl. Dark Side of the Moon's fun, Weezer. Um, I like a lot of synthwave stuff. Like I enjoy that on vinyl a lot. Daft Punk, Beatles. Um, yeah, I'm just looking around. um, yeah, I mean I mean, ideally I would listen to everything on vinyl for the first time, but it's not economical, and it's not realistic. So it's always a privilege to listen to something for the
Yeah,
first time on vinyl. Like I wish I could go back and listen to the Beatles for the first time.
yeah,
Like I wish I could forget ever hearing them, because like the way I listened to them was so disjointed. Like I heard singles here on the radio. Like a lot of times the radio station would go the Beatles A to Z, so they'd go in alphabetical order, and it's all mixed up. And like I can't tell you, the only real album I have an album experience with is the White Album. Like that's the one that I played the most. So I feel I know it really well, but the other ones just feel so kind of disjointed in a way. Like it's hard to appreciate them, as their own thing. It's hard to explain. I mean, recently with Revolver, I was able to kind of go back and really kind of listen to it sort of on its own and like as an album, like because it's been a while since I listened to it. I try not to listen to them too often because it I don't want to ever get sick of the Beatles and yeah. So I like to rotate around, you know, like they'll always be there. They're like good friends that you don't talk to all that often. So, but when you do, it's good times.
Um, so this kind of relates on how I found out about your channel was actually Matt of
Oh, too many records.
yeah.
Oh, cool.
And one of the kind of I th- it was a I think a video on your channel where talking about the fear of missing out on records
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
that kind of like that kind of like made me think, especially what we talked about with the Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
kind of on how we think we kind of have to get every single pressing to every single release.
Right.
Like I actually do have a Rush's Moving Pictures album,
Uh-huh.
but I did have to get a new pressing because that one was worn out.
Yeah.
But that's like kind of like the only reason I'll get like a remaster or like a kind of like a box set or something.
Uh-huh.
But especially with having companies or bands have to release like 10 different versions of the same album.
Sure. Yeah. So what do you're curious like what I think about all that or
Well, just like, yeah. And also, kind of with that, I don't understand why they'll release like 10 different versions of the same.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean like are you I mean that's a probably a huge topic, but like let's just look at Taylor Swift for example, right?
Yeah.
Um there are I forget how many variants there are of her latest release, but like you know each retailer has like an exclusive version of it, right? Like Target has its own color vinyl. There might even I don't really follow it, so I could be totally wrong, but I swear there were different covers for it, or like they all make like one picture. I don't remember exactly because I don't pay attention much to that aspect, but it all comes down to exclusivity in a way. Like, I mean, at at this point, and it's my opinion, but it's at this point that mm, by and large, most of the vinyl or records that are made really are just they're seen as collectible items at this point. They're it's less a delivery of music and more another piece of merchandise like a t-shirt or this. I mean, it's unfortunately depending on the artist and the fans, it you know they're coming. It's sort of like Beanie Babies in a way, or comic books with different covers. Like that was a big thing that almost killed the comic industry because it was just getting inundated with different versions and people were just speculating on things going up. And we're seeing that in vinyl. So far, we haven't seen like people, you know, slabbing records like in plastic and having them graded. I hope that never happens. It would not make sense. But I think part of it is just the music industry. There are people who still work for the music industry that remember the really good times before. MP3s and streaming when they were just making a buttload of money, right? And now the revenue stream is a lot less, and so they have to maximize where they can. And human nature, people who collect like to collect, right? You got to have them all. Pokemon, right? It's like it's sort of a sickness in a way. I mean, it's like I don't need really realistically need like 7 pressings of Sergeant Pepper's. I don't. I do it because of the show, but if it was just me without this show as a vinyl collector, I probably wouldn't. I would probably maybe keep my original 67 mono just because it's kind of a cool artifact. And then I would probably just pare it down to like the 2017 remaster and
Yeah.
just let go of the rest. But apart from, yeah, I think especially for bands like the Beatles, like these bigger legacy acts that are no longer touring, it's just a way to generate income.
Yeah.
So if like every 5 years they can put out another anniversary edition, they're going to do it because it makes everybody money. And sometimes these artists don't have control over it. Like I don't know how much the Rolling Stones have control over their releases. What's the cutoff point? Beggar's Banquet, I think, and below and before is a different record contract. Like I don't know how much control they have over that. But yeah, I think I don't know enough about this subject, but I mean it's from my outside perspective, it definitely is a case of um it's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit, I mean, I think ultimately what it comes down is money. That's the driving
Yeah.
factor. If you can sell the same thing again, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Right? And people buy it up. I think that's the other thing. If people stopped buying it, then yeah, people would. And I think that we would see less, but like yeah, I don't know if there's anything else I can really add to this other than yeah, just it's and I think certain retailers do demand, or I don't know if they demand it, but I think they definitely want some exclusivity.
Yeah.
And that's such an easy thing to do with the records because you can just put it in a different color and say this is exclusive to independent record retailers, and
Yeah.
this is exclusive to our website, and this is exclusive to the band. You can only get it on tour, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think I always operate just like pick your favorite color and go for it. Because otherwise, yeah, I mean, that has to just be your collection then. Like, but people do it. Whatever makes you happy, that's,
Yeah.
yeah, I've thought about it, but especially for that McCartney 3, but yeah, just like after you get it, then what, right? After you get all of them in the one color, the hunt is over. I think the hunt is what drives people. Like that's the exciting part. Like, ooh, I gotta get it. I gotta get it. Ooh, I found it at this place. Ah, that's the thrilling part. But then once you get it all together, you're like, okay, what's the next thing to get?
What, like if it only comes in like the standard black vinyl, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
But I actually I did get a limited quantity of record. So it's a band called a Year of October,
Okay.
and they're kind of like a fuzz rock band.
Cool. All right, I'll check them out.
And their first album they're releasing on vinyl, and one of the variants that they're doing is a liquid filled record.
Oh yeah.
And I think they're only doing like 20 of those.
Yeah, there are only a few people I think know how to make those. And they have to do it like one at a time. That's crazy. Are you trying to get one of those?
I actually was able to I actually was able to get one.
Oh wow. Okay.
And it's actually it'll be my first liquid filled record,
Yeah.
but I know it's something that I will play, but I definitely won't play a lot just because of it being so unique.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't own any myself. Um, and I've never seen one in person. I just have like a kitty litter filled one, which isn't really liquid. But I
But
hear, you got to be careful with them. I don't know. I guess it depends who makes them, but
yeah,
sometimes I don't know.
that I've only seen one in person,
Yeah,
which was at Jack White's Third Man Records, and it was in Detroit.
cool. Oh, how fun.
But
Um, I've always wanted to check out because he's got multiple locations now.
I think definitely one in Detroit and Nashville.
Yeah, there's one in London now too. But
Yeah,
I think it's just a store. I don't think there might be a place to record a record, but yeah.
I, I
Which one is Detroit the one that has the actual record plant?
well, when I went to visit the one in Detroit, it actually had a full-on pressing plant.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, that's the one. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. Cool. Right on. Yeah, I really like what he's doing with all
yeah.
that.
I actually was I was at Target yesterday, and
Yeah,
I did see two of his records, like his most recent releases,
yeah.
but I actually didn't pick them up. But definitely maybe like whenever I'm there again.
Yeah. The other day I saw in the clearance section one of his records. I was like, I haven't heard this yet.
Yeah,
Even though it's like $11, I don't know.
yeah.
So I'm trying to just have records I absolutely love, not just because I got it for cheap.
The one of the records I have it definitely is a very important record in my collection,
Yeah.
which is Rush's Snakes and Arrows album.
Okay. Yeah.
And that definitely is the most expensive I've ever paid for a record, just because I think they only made 1,200 of them.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
And of course, I think when it came out, it was only like probably like $30 or something.
Wow. Okay.
And I paid about 300.
Okay. That's not terrible.
But that album definitely is important, which is why I got it,
Yeah.
because I listened to that album so much during high school.
Well, now I'm gonna check it out. I haven't heard that one.
It
I can see, yeah, it came out in 2007, so
yeah,
that was kind of a weird time for records. There weren't a lot of
yeah,
people. I mean, there were people buying them, but to see bands put out new records was
yeah,
still a novelty.
yeah,
So I can understand why. Yeah, that's cool.
yeah. Um, so besides listening to albums for the channel,
Uh-huh.
do you ever listen to albums more of on like a casual level, like during your free time?
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah, I listen to a lot of music. Um, well, that's not true, but generally, yeah, I like to listen to what's new. Um, but occasionally I'll get like, oh, I want to check out such and such band's whole discography.
Yeah,
And I started doing that with Rush, but there was a lot to go through. Um, but yeah, I like having music on. Um, yeah, it's just like the soundtrack to our lives,
yeah,
like having the perfect music for whatever you're doing I don't know, makes a big difference.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, so it does show.
Oh yeah, I see it too. Yeah.
So do you have any questions that you wanted to ask?
Um, yeah, like what's your favorite record store that you like to go to?
Uh, well, kind of like the one that I go to the most
Yeah.
is a store called Gray Skull.
Oh, I don't. Oh, I
The,
don't know it.
well, they're actually relatively new, so I think they've been doing this for about just a little over 2 years.
Okay.
And they're actually located up here in like the Valencia area.
Oh, okay. Fun. All right. And is it just music or do they sell other things? Because Grayskull, I think of He-Man and like I think of toys and collectibles, but I don't know.
Yeah. They do sell a lot of vinyl cassettes, CDs.
Cool.
They also do sell uh stuff like turntables, receivers. Uh,
Nice. Okay.
so it's not really like a little bit of everything, but it's primarily music.
That's great. Yeah, that's great to have something like that so close
Yeah,
by.
yeah. So kind of like what is one as a store that you go to a lot?
I really like Record Safari.
Yeah,
Um, Alex, he runs the Coachella record store, and this is like, I think he opened it just over a year ago. This is like a permanent version of that record store, and there's like always something in there, and everybody's really nice in that place. And it's like not too big, not too small, and it's always very like laid back. Like Amoeba is cool to see. I don't know if you've
yeah.
been to the new Amoeba.
I actually went there about 2 years ago.
Oh, okay. I guess
But
was that the new location?
I went there shortly after that new location opened up.
Okay. Did you ever go to the old one?
Yeah,
Okay. What do you think of the new one?
it definitely like it still has a lot of like the same vibe, but
Yeah,
I kind of there is a part of me that still misses the old location.
yeah. Same, same. The it always felt the old one felt like you could breathe a bit, like it
Yeah,
felt like there was room. This new one, it always feels crowded.
yeah,
And you can't fit like the aisles are so
yeah,
skinny, two people can't be
yeah,
digging back to back. You just it can't the way they laid it out is just terrible, I
yeah,
think. Um, you can't even really look up at the rare stuff because people are always like trying to get by you. It's
yeah,
like, oh geez. And I think they devoted way too much space to CDs and DVDs. I don't know. That section is always really dead.
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I guess they're doing okay,
yeah,
but I just point being is like it's cool to go there to check out, but like I always find pricing wise, it's the most expensive
yeah,
place.
yeah,
And I like going to Record Safari because it's like easier to park. You don't have to deal with validation. It's not in Hollywood. It's just, its prices are reasonable and they always have really interesting things. Like they may not have what you came there to
yeah,
buy, but they always have something you walk away with. Like, oh,
yeah,
cool. I forgot I even wanted this.
yeah,
So, and it's just records. No, there could be some cassettes. It really depends, but it's mostly records.
yeah.
So, yeah, I recommend it if you're ever uh, in that part of town.
I'll definitely have to check that place out.
Yeah, it's pretty convenient. I mean, it's you just right off the Highway 5, right? Because you probably live near that, or maybe I don't know,
But yeah,
I-5. Yeah, so it's just right off of there. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Do you have anything you're looking forward to this year coming out
Um,
other than the liquid filled record?
I I haven't been able to keep myself as updated as I normally do,
Okay. Yeah.
but I am uh subscribed to Amoeba's newsletter.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So I'll just see whatever they'll send out in the email.
Yeah. Have you ever been to one of their concerts that they do?
No.
Okay. Yeah, neither have I. Yeah, and they do those signings sometimes too. Like I saw they did that thing for Knives Out. Um, but yeah, I'm glad Amoeba's around,
Yeah,
but it definitely feels really touristy.
yeah.
You ever go to like Atomic Records? You ever been there?
I actually went there for a record store day back in 2019.
Oh, cool. Okay, yeah,
And
yeah, I like that show.
it was actually my first record store day that I ever attended, and also my first time there.
Oh, awesome. Did you have a good time?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool. Do you usually participate in Record Store Day? Like, have you done it for the last couple of years, or just when something pops up you want?
Uh, I've only done it once.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Yeah,
Like I'm not that into it.
yeah, yeah. It's
And,
definitely a thing. Right on. Cool.
so I think that wraps up
Okay.
it. So
Yeah,
it definitely has been nice being able to talk about records and music and stuff.
yeah, Mike. Thank you so much, man. It was fun to hang out.
Thanks.
Okay, well, have a great day then.
Okay, you too.
All right, take care.
Bye.
See you.